Hi everyone, this is Miles from Quadcopter Land, and today I'm going to be sharing some of my experiences with the Phantom 4 Pro, the goods and the bads. We're going to start off with the remote. One thing I can say about the remote, it is very familiar. You guys have all seen it if you had the Phantom 3 Series Pro or if you had the recently Phantom 4 Pro that was released 9 months ago. The remote is pretty much the same. One nice thing about this remote, it's been upgraded to the 2.4 and the 5.8 gigahertz, so you get better range. But what I've noticed from this bird is when I'm flying with this remote, I'm getting a lot of loss of video feed, so that is one of the drawbacks. Another drawback I complain about this, they didn't put an HDMI standard in here. It would have been nice if they would have put a standard HDMI in here instead of you had to go out and buy a module and just put it on here. I don't think that was a good idea. They should have built the standard. But one thing I do like about the remote as well is you can put a range of your own tablets on here, whether it be an iPad or Samsung like this one or your own cell phone. One of the reasons why I got this one instead of the Plus is because I like choosing whatever monitor that I want to put on here instead of being stuck with the 5-inch. Yeah, great. It's great that it's nice and bright, but as of right now, you can't even put your own apps on there. You can't even put any third-party apps. So I would prefer to be able to put my own third-party apps on there and do what I want to do on here, and that makes experience that much better. Now, as far as the rest of the remote, the only other problem I have is over a certain amount of distance, I get a lot of video feed that's getting broken up where I'm just constantly losing the video feed. That can be a big problem for me sometimes, and that can be a little bit annoying. And another thing I've noticed is when I'm on a tablet, doesn't matter if you're on a phone or tablet with a resolution that's 1080p or above, because it only streams in 720p anyway. So that's not going to make a difference. The problem I have is when you are streaming it and you're looking at the screen, it looks perfectly fine. But then when you get home, you get the SD card out, you put it in your computer, you look and you notice, oh, the camera wasn't quite in focus. So that's partly more of you only being able to see in 720p, and it also falls in the actual focusing of the camera not acting correctly. So with that being said, it could be one or the other. The positive things about the actual bird itself, it's nice and sleek. The body is nice and sturdy, obviously, and the way the props come on and off, it's really nice how the props lock on there. And of course the upgrades, you can't beat the upgrades. The new wonderful camera they've got on here, 20 megapixel camera, 100 megabits per second, the whole nine, at the new active shutter, which is really nice. And of course, it's got the new 360-degree obstacle avoidance, and of course the sensors at the bottom. So you got 5-way obstacle avoidance going down and all the way around. One thing I can say though, all that stuff is nice. It is great. But there's also some cons to it too. One thing I've noticed as far as the bad part about it is, starting off with the obstacle avoidance, I notice if you're going this way or if you're going this way where you've got these blind spots on here, it doesn't pick up and you're going to hit something if you're not paying attention. It doesn't work that well going in those directions. So that's slightly a downfall. Another thing too is I found out that these infrared sensors work well at night. They should consider putting some here in the front, because even though we have the no flight at nighttime, we still have the twilight, which means you can fly 30 minutes before sunset and you can 30 minutes before sunrise. So it's still kind of dark outside, so if you had that would actually be kind of nice. Another thing I've also noticed is the gimbal sometimes make a little screeching noise when you turn on the Phantom. You turn it off, you hear like a screech noise when you turn it on. That's another thing I noticed. Another problem that I found is the horizon tilt. It's always, so even after all the calibrations and everything I've done multiple times, still get this horizon tilt when you're flying sometimes, and I've seen that on the video sometimes. That can be slightly annoying sometimes. Also, after the firmware update, the birds just have this real hard shaking that makes it, very unstable when you're taking off, and right after you land, when the props are winding down, it gets that shutter effect again. That's probably got to be some sort of firmware issue, because after I did the firmware update, that's when that actually started. So hopefully the next firmware update will get that squared away. Another problem that I see is, which I think DJI should address this, is leaving this gimbal cable loose right here. I mean, this cable right here is not protected at all. So I think that's not a good idea. That's probably one of the cons. If you crash this bird, chances are you're gonna have to send it back to DJI to get it fixed. Another thing too is this gimbal cannot be separated from the bird. That's another problem. So if you ever crash this and you do any damage to this gimbal, you're gonna have to send it back. Another problem that I see with it is it doesn't have any gimbal protection on here. Once again, you can buy a gimbal protector for it, but it should have, for as much this bird costs, it should have came with the Phantom 4. Other than that, it is fantastic. I have no problems. The biggest thing, the app. The good things about that one is the app is very intuitive, it's very easy to use. It's got a lot of new flight modes on it. That's actually fairly nice. Bad thing about the app, it is constantly crashing. It has a lot of compatibility issues with Android and iOS. Another thing that I found out, it doesn't support previous models, which I think if you're gonna upgrade your app, you should still be able to fly all the other models with it. I think the older app by far was way more stable than the app they got now. The one they got now just has so many problems. Sometimes it makes flying a Phantom 4 kind of annoying because you could be flying, everything's going great, and all of a sudden the app crashes on you and you're just relying on the remote to fly the bird back. So if you're a novice at this, you definitely better learn how to fly the Phantom 4 without the screen. Practice without the screen, because a lot of times with the way the app is going right now, it's going to glitch out on you and you're going to have to fly and you're going to notice, oh, I lost transmission, and then it's going to have to reboot all over again before you get transmission again. So that could be kind of an annoyance. Other than that, she is fantastic. I love flying it. It just, I think a lot of the issues that I see is in the firmware. If they could do something to fix most of the problems as far as the gimbal tilt, the app crashing and things like that, hopefully they can fix that on the next firmware update. But until then, we're just going to have to deal with it. You can also roll back the firmware. The problem with rolling back the firmware, you're always going to get that notification at the top, firmware updated needed. So if you can live with that, roll back your firmware to the other one. That may get rid of some of that little wobble sensation I was telling you about. But other than that, I really enjoy flying it. It's great to fly. I appreciate you guys for watching. If you like the information I gave you today, please give me a thumb up and please subscribe. Thank you. Have a good day.